As soon as videotape left the factory, it already started to break down. Information that is on the tapes is slowly dying, and if we don't preserve them, important historical content that's contained on them will be lost forever.
What is MePops?
What is MePops?
What is MePops? MePops stands for Moving Image Preservation of Puget Sound.
What MePops does for the general public of the Pacific Northwest is provide access to digitized content.
Our mission is to raise awareness about the magnetic media crisis, the alarm that the Association of Moving Image Archivists sounded to sort of bring awareness to the urgency of digitizing videotape.
Audiovisual Archive in Australia has put a deadline of 2025 to say, if you don't have your magnetic material digitized by this time, you're screwed. They're figuring out the actual date, and it's right around the corner.
Within 20 to 30 years of the time it's created, it's disintegrating.
The magnetic media crisis is sometimes called a gathering storm because the deterioration of the actual analog videotapes and then the increasing obsolescence and rarity of the players that play them back.
So video is a little bit different from film in that video went through all these different iterations, all these different formats for consumer purposes, for broadcast purposes, whereas film, there were consumer formats, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, but the principle of film has stayed pretty consistent. And video requires all these different players.
A lot of the formats that we work with stopped being manufactured years ago. And so we have to make sure that we take good care of them and tune them up, clean them, because a lot of the parts and players are getting harder and harder to come by, and so are the people who actually work on them. They're a dying breed, if you will.
In some cases, people thought they were creating preservation copies by putting film onto videotape. In fact, that was not a great idea. Film is actually quite stable.
The thing about older media types like film and negatives is that they are stable. 30 years from now, you're going to be able to view them.
100-year-old nitrate film, in some cases, is still around and looks gorgeous. Whereas a video, for its manufacture, had a completely different purpose. It was more of a kind of democratizing format for shooting.
It was a lot cheaper than film, so not only were professionals using it, but also amateurs and just the average person was able to buy videotape and record.
There was plenty of access. You could watch your VHS tape of a film, but now that VHS tape needs a lot of help. We have to keep up. We can't just sort of settle back and say, okay, we're finished. Despite the fact that we're working with old materials that have their fixed content, the way we view that material, the way we store that material is going to just keep changing and evolving.
A lot of the time, videotape is capturing real people doing real things. That might sound personal and boring, but it really encompasses so much of Seattle and Seattle's history that it's valuable to the general public and great for them to be able to access it. The public is able to see files digitized at MePops on Internet Archive, where we create collections for each group so that they can, based on that institution, go in and view the content on their personal computer.
Hi, My name is Hannah Palin. I am the Moving Image Curator at the University of Washington Library Special Collections. Today's virtual moving history program features Northwest painter, sculptor, and video artist Doris Chase. Doris's work is held by the Museum of Modern Art, the Wisconsin Center for Film and Theater Research, the Henry Art Gallery, and of course, the University of Washington Library Special Collections. Doris was a true Seattleite. She was born in Seattle in 1923. She went to Roosevelt High School, attended the UW, and taught at the Edison Technical School, which eventually became part of Seattle Central Community College. She did move to New York City in the early 1970s and lived at the famed Chelsea Hotel. But she still returned to Seattle and lived in Horizon House until her death in 2008. The thing to know about Doris is that she was always ahead of the curve and was willing to do anything she could to make her vision a reality. Her career touched important art movements. She was taught by painters from the Northwest School. She participated in the Experiments in Art and Technology movement, working with Boeing engineers to create early computer animation. She collaborated with experimental filmmakers Frank Brown and Robert Olvey and dove headfirst into creating video art when urged to do so by Nam June Paik. Her work is fascinating and deserves renewed attention, which is why she's part of a podcast series currently in production in Special Collections. Beyond Scope and Content will feature the work of women filmmakers held by Special Collections and is scheduled for release in spring 2021. But today, we're going to share a rough draft of Doris's program, highlighted by two of her computer-generated pieces. Circles, a computer film made in 1970 with composer Mort Subotnick in collaboration with Robert Brown and Frank Olvey and computer programmer Robert Tingley, as well as Squares, produced in 1973 with technical collaborator Claudine McIntosh, computer programmer Mike Welland, and music by George Kleinsinger. So, enjoy this mashup of something old and something new. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to Beyond Scope and Content, a podcast about some of the fascinating archival materials held by the University of Washington Library Special Collections. We're going to take a deep dive into the stories that don't always make it into the public record. My name is Hannah Palin, and I'm the Moving Image Curator for Special Collections. I'll be your host. So, I am an archivist. It's what I do. It's not what I meant to be when I grew up, but when I grew up, I found myself taking care of old things, which in turn brought me to the world of archives. At work, these things are films and videotapes. At home, it's hundreds of artworks inherited from my estranged father. All of this stuff, cardboard boxes crammed with correspondence or photographs or home movies, diaries, is put into impeccable order by archivists like me in the hope that it will provide meaning and historical context to researchers and historians. It's a noble calling and one that brings order to chaos. What's missing, though, are the stories. Not the dry biographies and boiled-down historical notes, but the real people behind the stuff. The best part of my job is pulling at the threads of the life left behind in all of those boxes. It's an adventure. So, let's get started. We have a number of collections created by women artists and filmmakers. One of these, a pioneer in video art, is Doris Chase. Her work is held by the Museum of Modern Art, the Wisconsin Center for Film and Theater Research, the Henry Art Gallery, and the University of Washington Library's Special Collections. In order to tell her story, though, you need a little bit of context. Videotape? It's older than you think. The story goes that when Bing Crosby was working on live radio...
While we're waiting, how about sing a song for us?
Oh, Mary, Bing doesn't want to sing.
I do, too.
He would incorporate audio tape into his radio broadcasts so that he could pre-record his program and then take time off to go pursue more important ventures, like golf. In 1951, his company, Bing Crosby Enterprises, demonstrated the first videotape recording. Although it wasn't broadcast quality, it did inspire others to perfect the technology, bringing it first to the television studio, then later into the hands of the public. In 1967, Sony introduced the Portapak, a battery-operated, self-contained videotape analog recording system that could be carried and operated by one person. Now, this was a vast improvement over earlier cameras that were large and heavy, mounted on a pedestal requiring a crew to operate. The Portapak made it possible to shoot and record video easily outside of the studio without requiring a crew. Around this time, artists became interested in technology, exploring ways to use video as a form of expression rather than simply as a way to communicate information. Video art is often said to have begun when Nam June Paik, a Korean-American artist who studied in Germany, used his new Sony Portapak to shoot footage of Pope Paul VI's procession through New York City in the autumn of 1965. Later that same day, across town in a Greenwich Village cafe, Paik played the tapes and video art was born. Doris Chase studied architecture at the University of Washington, taught painting, and was part of the Northwest School with Mark Tobey and Morris Graves.
When I was married, I guess like all magazine stories, I thought we would live happily ever after, and society and family had led me to believe that you have children, and then you have a lovely home, and then maybe you have a house in the country, and then you have the second child. And I thought I would have all those as well as my painting and sort of the gracious living. I might go back and study some more at the university. I'd like to broaden myself. I hadn't any idea about changing the world. I thought the world was just fine. I was terribly naive. So then it was a couple of years, and we started building a house, and then we were expecting the second child, and that's when my husband got very ill with polio, so that in the midst of all the trauma, I think the only reason that I did survive as a person, as an individual, is because of my art. At that time it was painting.
She turned to sculpture in the 1960s and created large-scale wood pieces.
In 1968, I had a call from choreographer Mary Staton. She'd seen an article about my sculpture and wondered if I'd work with her on a multimedia production. It was for the Seattle Opera and it was with the Mary Staton Dance Ensemble. It was my first opportunity to create really large kinetic sculpture which would be powered by dancers, that would support the weight of dancers, as well as have a rhythmic life of its own.
It was during these collaborations with Staton that Chase began to use film, first as a means of documentation and eventually as an integral artistic element.
After 28 years of marriage, when the children were grown and my husband successful in his business career, I moved to New York City, filed for divorce, and started a whole new life.
Doris Chase moved to New York City and lived in the historic Chelsea Hotel, a hotbed for a diverse group of artists, writers, musicians, and cultural figures. Arthur C. Clarke wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey there. Dylan Thomas became ill there. Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols might have stabbed his girlfriend there. And Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe lived and loved there. After coming to New York, Chase was introduced to Nam June Paik and was encouraged by the artist to explore video as a medium. Her works have been shown widely in festivals, screenings, and exhibits worldwide. During the 70s, Chase used the medium of video to explore the subject of women from a feminist point of view in documentaries such as Lies, Masks, Windows, Skyfish, Electra Tries to Speak, Travels in the Combat Zone, and Thulani, which comprised the Concept series. By the mid-'80s, Chase achieved a breakthrough into mainstream television with the By Herself series, in which she introduced the subject matter of older women in society to a popular audience. Chase also produced and directed works in this series, such as Table for One, Dear Papa, A Dancer, Glass Curtain, and Sophie, featuring actresses Joan Plowright, Geraldine Page, and Louise Rayner. Chase moved back to Seattle and continued to explore the ways her work could be used within different contexts, including using the By Herself series as a way to connect with elders in the community, giving them an opportunity for discussion and expression. Chase died in Seattle in December 2008. Doris Chase's collection includes videotape and film, artistic works and documentaries, elements, and completed pieces. A number of videotapes will be digitized at Moving Image Preservation of Puget Sound as part of a federal grant project and will be available to the public through UW Special Collections. Thank you so much for joining us. Now it's time for Virtual Moving History. Please enjoy the show and be sure to tune in again for more of Doris Chase's work focusing on dance on January 10th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And also keep your ears tuned for Beyond Scope and Content being released in spring 2021. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.
When I was married, I guess like all magazine stories, I thought we would live happily ever after, and society and family had led me to believe that you have children, and then you have a lovely home, and then maybe you have a house in the country, and then you have 2 cars or 3 cars, and then you have the second child to fill out the needed number in the family. And I thought I would have all those as well as my painting and sort of the gracious living. I might go back and study some more at the university. I'd like to broaden myself. I hadn't any idea about changing the world. I thought the world was just fine. I was terribly naive. So then it was a couple of years, and we started building a house, and then we were expecting the second child, and that's when my husband got very ill with polio, so that in the midst of all the trauma, I think the only reason that I did survive as a person, as an individual, is because of my art. At that time, it was painting. All of us are striving constantly for that perfection, which can never happen, but you keep trying to make things perfect. I think that's what an artist does. They're always trying to make things better or more exciting or more wonderful or more beautiful, and that all comes down to perfection.
I'd like to, if possible, enhance this particular section that's coming up. It's coming where her breathing is extremely important.
So that was the beginning. It was the painting to the sculpture to the film and to the video. And some people say, "Oh my word, how could you jump from one thing to another?" Well, I didn't ever jump from one art form to another. It was a very gradual evolution, a growing as a tree or a flower grows. It forms one petal and then another leaf and expands.
Can we do it right now? Let's take these right now from this point, okay?
I want to involve the viewer and get the viewer's imagination at work. Just as used to be in radio, you'd hear the radio and you'd hear someone making sounds, the door opening, or someone closing the stove, the doorbell ringing, a telephone, all these things you imagine because you couldn't see a thing. Mm-hmm. And so everyone listening to the radio had a different vision, but they were envisioning, they were imagining. And I would love to be able to bring to the viewer who's watching television just a little bit of this magic of their own imagination.
2. Snow. Helping, hoping, waiting, once, then again. Issuing, shooing,
waiting to come to. Again, window. Image, frame, work, carpenter, Mary, 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 Mary.
I was a painter for many years in Seattle, and as my work progressed, I became more interested in sculpture and started working with wood. The forms were very basic, seemed to wish themselves in and out of one another. My first show in New York was in 1962. As the sculpture grew in size, I began working in steel. It was a tremendous excitement, transferring small-scale models to the monumental. In time, exhibitions and lectures were arranged in various parts of the world: Japan, India, South America, and Europe. My studio was constantly changing. The sculpture was developing and growing in size. I received commissions for park installations and public spaces. It took many people working with me. They became co-creators on my projects. The one in Seattle is kinetic. The top section revolves. In 1968, I had a call from choreographer Mary Staton. She'd seen an article about my sculpture and wondered if I'd work with her on a multimedia production. It was for the Seattle Opera and was with the Mary Staton Dance Ensemble. It was my first opportunity to create really large kinetic sculpture which would be powered by dancers, that would support the weight of dancers, as well as have a rhythmic life of its own.
Doris was originally a sculptor, and I was always impressed with the scale of work and the challenges that she set to herself, working with Corten steel and enormous scale. Working with dances or choosing to work with dances was consistent with her looking to a major challenge. It's a medium which doesn't lend itself to verbal tractability. It's a medium which is a very interior medium. I think Doris was fascinated with the way dancers acted on space and in time. In a sense, it was a form of found sculpture for her.
I wanted to use color and line, as I did when working as a painter. Eventually, it led to elaborate multimedia productions, and it combined the sculpture, and dancers, and the film. After 28 years of marriage, when the children were grown and my husband successful in his business career, I moved to New York City, filed for divorce, and started a whole new life.
I always remained committed to the idea that Doris was primarily a visual artist. and she, of course, enhances that. She never came to the video dance medium from the dancer's perspective. She came to it from the perspective of first probably a sculptor's perspective, from a painter's perspective, and ultimately from a television director's perspective. Her approach to collaboration was different from many of the so-called video dance artists that I subsequently met, in that she was not interested really in getting involved in the kinesthetic working out of certain dance problems, but rather standing back and let the dancers and the choreographers create their work. She then captured it on video, and in the privacy of her own studio and her own editing suites and so forth, would create the work, plastically shape it according to her own vision. She allows them total freedom to explore their own visions in their own forms. That has attracted many artists to want to work with her.
One of the early dancers I worked with was Cynthia Anderson. She was only 17 and was dancing with the Joffrey Ballet. I wanted to harness some of that vibrance, that excitement of her youth. Jackie Smith Lee had the most beautiful hands, and so with the camera I created a hand dance. I wanted to capture a Kali-like figure. She became an Indian goddess.
She really enjoys technology. She really wants to explore what technology means to her as an artist, as another kind of tool that is an extension of her creative thought. She really enjoys it, and she really pushes it. She wants to see what she can do next and how she can employ that in a way that has some meaning to her. She's very delicate about it in that sense. She's really there to make sure that all the elements flower.
K to K is another dancer that I worked with really great joy. She's a dancer, choreographer, and an elegant theater person. Some of her work seems almost prehistoric, and in other areas very Japanese.
At this point, I know as much as anyone, I guess, about working with the tools, the technology of television and of video and of film. And so I know precisely what images I want to achieve. And there's no way for me as an individual to do all this alone.
Jonathan Hollander is a very special dancer and an interesting choreographer and willing to experiment in all new directions. We worked on several pieces together. With synthesis, I wanted to take the form and pull and push in many areas that I couldn't possibly do with the sculpture itself or in the theater.
I later carried the idea of the outline into a fun piece called Jazz Dance with the dancer Gay DeLange. I wanted to depart from my usual studied approach to dance and make a joyful work. So I created Gay as if she were a trio dancing in exact unison. And in the editing process, I generated an effect that worked in counterpoint. I'll tell you what, don't take this image yet. Wait for about another... After a certain point, I realized that there was no place else for me to go in a challenging way with dance, that I had really experienced everything that I felt was possible that I was interested in doing. And so I began changing again, developing my concept series. I combined the abstract elements I was familiar with of painting and dance with drama in order to reach the emotions.
I think what Doris started to do in the late 70s was that she invented a very new kind of electronic theater in which she took the personal and intimate vision of television, the way in which you can sort of just like put your cheek on it, and figured out a way to take material that was previously performed in a theatrical setting and redo it in a collaboration with the writers and make something totally new, something that really was a revolutionary approach to a television theater.
Her dreams were filled with ghosts, perched on her bony wrists, grinning gargoyles, menacing her every step, and wouldn't let her go. She longed to be her mother in a silver dress, some softly fading memory, lifting her legs in a sinuous tango.
In this concept series, I want very much to approach the feminist view obliquely. In other words, I would say the most pointed piece of all of them is called Electra Tries to Speak, in which the protagonist, Sandra Siegel, is really out there, and she is saying, "Do I look all right? Do I look all right? You know, am I all right?" In other words, it's giving the picture of the doubting woman as she's trying to speak.
She doesn't know what she wants to say. She wants to say. She wants to say. But she's tongue-tied. The cat's got a tongue. Her heart's in her mouth. She can't speak. She is smiling. She is nodding. She is mugging and poking, swallowing, gulping. She doesn't get it. She's lost the thread. She's lost her train of thought. She can't follow. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She gets it. She gets it.
So these tapes are also often very difficult to watch because the politics that she's inscribing is not just pro-woman, but really deals with all the shadings, all the coloration of what it means to be a woman. And some of it is not very pleasant to watch. Some of it is very painful. It's a very radical thing to deal with the pain as well as the positive aspects, to deal with the suffering as well as an image of strength.
Pearl was still going to movies. Mostly by herself. Sometimes, when there wasn't much sewing to be done, she would dance in the stillness of her living room. Fabric scattered around her feet, flies buzzing in the stuffiness of the afternoon. And sometimes, when she was feeling really lonely, she would sing to herself, "Lover man, where can you be?" When I play solitaire, I cheat. I am an ace. I shuffle the cards. It's not that I have to win. I just don't want to give up. And the facts I have to face sit in the palm of my hand. Vicious cycles break my heart.
When the women speak, you cannot ignore them because you are so close to them. It is as if your sister is sitting next to you, or your mother, or any woman you're close to, and you can't ignore it because you are so close to what's happening. The framing, the cropping, even the special effects, which to a certain extent abstract the image, they also bring you very close to it.
You're guilty. I love you, Daddy. There is a womb of air between my feet and the floor. There's a womb of silence between my voice and your ear. There's a womb of lies between my mind and life. I'm a pea in a shell game. Don't bet on me.
I would rather not have a tape with no sound, places where there's no sound. Because
so you have something whether or not you want,
yeah,
so you know,
right.
Well, maybe we need something, and there's something there for it.
Well, and the thing is this, you see, music's filling in.
All rehearsals are held with the actor, writer, and composer in the hotel where I live.
Now, that's a difference. Bonnie said that I'm not in that. That's a reflection.
Oh, I see. Okay.
In my dramatic work, collaborations often take 3 or 4 months rehearsal to translate the poetry or theater into television.
When you left that long pause, you had a chance to become your father instead of become you at another age and then your father. This is the sort of movement we will be coming in with in the bedroom in Paris. And then I forgot my French. I forgot everything, and she goes into this. Today, in the corporate boardroom, I'll come striding in, followed by 200 Nubian slaves of various ages, and I will...
Today, in the corporate boardroom, I'll come striding in, followed by 200 Nubian slaves of various ages, and I will dazzle those pale white patriarchs with a Cecil B. DeMille spectacular brought to you by 400 years on the job training. Survival of the Middle Passage. And how dare they say that we are only 30,000?
Yes. All right.
By recording rehearsals, the reviewing process gives me an opportunity to define the portrait space, which clarifies changes. And this encourages the performer to try new directions.
With one arrow, Baramgour brushed the ear of a zebra, making it itch. And with a second arrow, he pinned the hoof to the ear. Well, Fetna, what do you think of that? And she answered, not much. Practice makes perfect, my lord, and it must be your habit to hunt.
Always there's this excitement when you're creating something. It's like when when I was drawing or painting, it's that same
putting the line down and then maybe erasing it and then putting it down again and reassuring, where should that line be? Where should this color be? Is that the right color? Oh, let's try another color, and so it's a testing. I think it's that challenge always of, is it right? And then who do you ask? Naturally, you bounce it off of different places, but you always have to ask yourself, is it right? Does it work?
He told me not to tell David Hassan that it was a boy. He slipped me his telephone number for a drink sometime. If I take this off, my skin may come off too, like the flesh of the Hiroshima victims when they were touched.
Doris is one of the very important early pioneers of video. She was one of the first people to work with image processing in connection with dance, and her dance theater pieces, her video dance pieces, using colorizers and synthesizers, set the groundwork for much of the later work. She was a true pioneer, and I think that her pioneer status is even more remarkable in the way in which these particular tapes found a very large audience. Instead of staying just within the art gallery and the museum, they were shown on broadcast television and exhibited widely in a variety of contexts, and brought what would normally be thought of as a radical or avant-garde art form, a hermetic art form that is not accessible to people. Instead, brought what could be done with the new technology to a large audience.
Some people have said, my goodness, you never gave us a let up. You know, when they've seen this, they say, yeah, you don't give us breathing space. Well, I don't want to give them breathing space. I want to either catch them and hook them and not let them go. I don't want them to just drift off. I don't want them to escape. I want to do it and hold them. And so that's my style. Doris Chase Concepts is concerned with giving a new visual dimension to words, emotion, and dramatic theater. In Electra Tries to Speak, the capacity of woman to play many roles, as all women do, is demonstrated.
Electra Tries to Speak. Electra is trying to speak. She's not a speaker. She knows she's not a speaker. But she has something she wants to say. She thinks she has something she wants to say. She's looking down and playing with her hands. She's trying to speak. She's starting. She's starting. She's stammering. She's stammering. She's changing the subject and stammering. She's saying it. She's saying it twice. She's saying it many times. She doesn't know what she's saying, and she's saying it many times. Electra tries to speak. Electra is trying to speak. She's not a speaker. She knows she's not a speaker. But she has something she wants to say. She thinks she has something she wants to say. She's trying to speak. She's looking down and playing with her hands. She's trying to speak. She's starting. She's starting. She's stammering. She's stammering. She's changing the subject and stammering. She's saying it. She's saying it. She's saying it twice. She's saying it twice. She's saying it many times. She doesn't know what she's saying, and she's saying it many times. She's tongue-tied. The cat's got her tongue. Her heart's in her mouth, and she's saying it. She doesn't know what she wants to say, and she's saying it. She looks down. She averts her eyes. She fixes her hair. She's straightening her skirt. She's playing with her hands. She's picking her fingernails. She's clearing her throat. She's smiling. No. She's smoking. She's angry. She's looking very, very angry, but she's really sad. She's looking very, very angry, but she's really sad. But she's really sad. She's looking very angry. Very, very angry. She laughs at herself, but she's really sad. She's making a joke. She's making a joke at her own expense. She's turning away. She's laughing and giggling and chuckling and roaring. She laughs. She laughs at herself. She's guffawing. She's guffawing at her own expense. She's shrinking. She's guffawing. She's guffawing at her own expense. She's putting her sunglasses on. She's repeating what she hears. She's shrinking. She's repeating what she hears. She's repeating what she hears. She's putting her glasses on. She's beating around the bush. She's taking her glasses off. She's going to eat. She's going to eat. She's putting her sunglasses on. She's eating. She's eating. She's anxious, what she hears. And she's very hungry, and she eats. She's repeating what she hears. She eats. She eats. She's repeating what she hears. She eats. Talk. She's putting her glasses on. She's taking her glasses off. She's going to eat. She's going to eat. She's eating. She is eating. She's anxious, and she's very hungry, and she eats. She wants to speak, she eats. She eats, she talks, she talks, she eats. Talk. She's over-talking. Talk. Talk. She's going to cry. She's going to cry. She's crying. She's crying. But she's really happy. She's very happy. Really, she is very happy. Look, she's smiling. She's smiling and she's trying to listen. Electra is trying to listen. She's trying to appear to be listening. She appears to be listening. She appears to be comprehending. She's trying to comprehend and she appears to be comprehending. She's smiling. She's nodding. She's poking and mugging. She raises her eyebrows. I think so. She gasps. She's disappearing. She is disappearing. She's trying to listen. She's trying to appear to be listening. She's trying to comprehend. She's trying to appear to be comprehending. And she's disappearing. She is disappearing. She's in a daze. She's in a daze. Doesn't get it. She's lost the thread. She's lost her train of thought. She can't follow. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She gets it. She gets it. Do you get it? Do you know what I mean? Do you get it? Do you know what I mean? Do you get it? I I don't know. Do you get it? Do you know what I mean? Do you get it? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. Ooh, she's judging herself. She is judging herself badly. She can't stand herself. She's judging herself so badly. You dummy. What a jerk, Dumbo. She can't stand the sound of her own voice. She can't stand her stammering. She can't stand her stuttering. She can't stand her smirking. She can't stand her smiling. She can't stand herself. She can't stand herself. She can't think. She doesn't know what she wants to say. She wants to say. She wants to say. But she's tongue-tied. The cat's got her tongue, her heart's in her mouth. She can't speak. She is smiling. She is nodding. She is mugging and poking, swallowing, gulping. She doesn't get it. She's lost the thread. She's lost her train of thought. She can't follow. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She gets it. She gets it. Lying. She is lying. She's blaming, defaming, haranguing, trashing, fetching, chuckling, chirping, twittering, snickering, giggling, gurgling, gagging. Get a glass of water. Get a glass of water, quick. Judging herself badly. She's judging herself. She can't stand herself. You dummy jerk. What a Dumbo. She can't stand the sound of her own voice. She can't stand her stammering. She can't stand her stuttering. She can't stand her smirking. She can't stand her smiling. She can't stand herself. She can't stand herself. She can't think. She doesn't know what she wants to say. She doesn't know what she wants to say. She wants to say. She knows what she wants to say. Don't be ridiculous. But she's tongue-tied. She doesn't know how to say what she wants to say. The cat's got her tongue, her heart's in her mouth. And who's listening to her anyway? Electra is appearing as her father. She's blustering and blurting and talking loud. She's quacking. She is quacking. Quack, 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 quack. She's smacking her lips. She's snorting and quacking. You're a lucky girl. You're a lucky girl. She's slapping. She's slapping her thigh. She's slapping her knee. She's slapping and smacking and snorting and quacking. She's talking like she knows what she thinks. She's talking like she knows what she's talking about. Now she's appearing as her sister. She's batting her eyes. She's winking. She's winking and blinking. She's mincing and flirting and winking and blinking and deserting herself. Now she's appearing as her mother. She's, hesitating. She's just thinking out loud. She's covering her mouth with her hand. She's averting her eyes. She's ending everything with a question. She's appearing as her mother and she's ending everything with a question. You know what I mean? You know, Mom, you never ask me anything about my life. Don't ask me about my life. I love my life. You ask me anything about my life, I'll tell you everything. I swear I will. I'll tell you everything. Mom, I don't think I look too pale without lipstick. I think I look all right without lipstick. You wear that bright red lipstick. I don't. I think I look all right without lipstick. Do you think I look all right? Maybe I am a little too pale. Maybe I should wear a little lipstick. Do I look all right? I think I look all right. Do you think I look all right? Am I all right? I feel all right. Am I all right? Am I all right? Am I all right? I'm gonna let my little light shine, Daddy. Daddy, I'm gonna shine, shine, shine. Don't you want me to shine, Dad? I'm gonna shine. I'm gonna shine, shine, shine. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have so much fun. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun, fun, fun. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun, fun. Look at me, Daddy. Look at me when you talk to me, Daddy. Do you hear what I'm saying? Don't look at your food, you look at me. Daddy, look at me when I'm talking to you. Put that paper away. Put that newspaper down and look at me. Don't stare off into space. Do you think I'm just on the radio or something? What do you think I am? You don't know anything about me. You think I'm always gonna be here, but I'm not. You don't know I walked out that door and grew up. You don't know what I'm doing with my life. It's a brand new me. Talk to me. Goddamn it, Daddy. Look at me when I'm talking to you. I don't want to be like you. Do you realize when I talk to people, I look at them? Look at me when you talk to me. God damn it, I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. You look at me. God damn it, Daddy, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. What do you see? Not what you had in mind, huh? Remember this face? How about this mouth? Not what you had in mind, huh? Look at me, Daddy, because this is it. This is it. Look at me. Look at this. This is me, Daddy. This is you, Daddy. Look at this face. This is yours, Daddy. Folks are in the audience tonight. What do you want from me? What do you want me to call you? You want me to call you Dad? I'll call you Dad. You want me to call you Mister? I'll call you Mister. There are a lot of things I'd like to call you. Don't call me, I'll call you. Ooh, you signed your death warrant that time, Electra. You know, there are some people who don't believe in transference. They think when they are speaking to you, they are speaking to you. Get it? Shut up. Speak up. Shut up. Speak up. Uh-huh. 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 I think so. I don't think so. I think so. I don't think so. Je crois que oui. Je crois que non. 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 You dummy. What a jerk, Dumbo. I love somebody, yes I do. I love somebody, yes I do. I love somebody, yes I do. I love somebody, but I can't say who. I love you, Mommy. I love you, Daddy. 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 I love you, Mommy. Love you, Daddy. Love you, Mommy. Love you, Daddy. Love you, Mommy. Love you, Daddy. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I can't say who. I can't say who. I can't say who. I can't say who. You know, there are two kinds of women, and that's it. Women who are into men, and women who are into men, and that's it. Women who are attracted to men, and women who want to be like men. Let's face it. Now you and me, we're into men. You know what I mean? Electra is trying to speak. She's not a speaker. She knows she's not a speaker. But she has something she wants to say. She thinks she has something she wants to say. She's looking down and playing with her hands. She's trying to speak. She's starting. She's starting. She's stammering. She's stammering. She's changing the subject and stammering. She's saying it. She's saying it twice. She's saying it many times. She doesn't know what she's saying, and she's saying it many times. She's tongue-tied. The cat's got her tongue. Her heart's in her mouth, and she's saying it. She doesn't know what she wants to say, and she's saying it. Ah, that mom and dad. All they ever wanted was normal children. Where would they get normal children? You know, my dad is in the audience tonight. Come on, Daddy. Sing along with me. They're playing our song. Come on. I know you know it. Come on, Daddy, please. Quack, quack, quack. Come on, I know you know it. Come on. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. This hurts me more than it hurts you. This hurts me more than it hurts you. I'm out here trying. How come you're not trying? Don't look at me, Dad. You've looked at me enough. I don't want you to look at me. I'm alive. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, but I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. When? I'm alive, I'm gonna die. Me, I'm gonna die, I'm alive. I'm keeping the conversation going. She's keeping the ball rolling. She's talking a blue streak. She's on the soapbox. I'm alive, I'm intact, I'm alive. She's going on and on. She doesn't know how to speak, and she doesn't know how to stop. She's speed rapping. She's going. She's keeping the ball rolling. She's talking a blue streak. She can't stay on She's on the soapbox. She doesn't know how to speak, and she doesn't know how to stop. She doesn't know her mouth. She's going on and on. She's gabbing and blabbing. She's speed rapping. She's dragging it out. She's detailing. She's lost in detail. She's off on a tangent. She's buying time. She's buying time. She's cracking her knuckles. She looks at her hands. She bites. And she doesn't know how to stop. She doesn't know how to speak. And she doesn't know how to stop. She wants to say, but she's shrieking instead. She looks down. They don't know that she knows what she wants to say. She plays with her hands. She's biding time. She's very, very still. She's buying time. She's so still, she's almost not breathing. She's cracking her knuckles. She gasps. She gasps. She bites her hands. She bites her fingers. She bites her fingernails. Probably more she bites her lip. You know, Mom? She looks away. Ah! She shrieks. She shrieks. She wants to say, but she's shrieking instead. Sure, I will. I'll tell you everything. They don't know that she knows what she wants to say. Look at me, Daddy. Look at me when you talk to me, Daddy. Do you hear what I'm saying? I don't know how to be anymore. Do look at me. Daddy, look at me when I'm talking to you. I can either be your daughter or myself. Put that down and look at me. Don't stare off. I don't know how to act anymore. I mean, I used to know how to be. I used to pass. I used to pass very well, but I can't pass anymore. I mean, I don't know how to be. I mean, I used to want to be the muse. Now I want to be the artist. I don't want to be the inspiration. I want to be it. I mean, I want to be it. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know how to act anymore. I mean, do you realize when I talk to people, I look at them? Look at me when you talk to me. God damn it, I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. You look at me. God damn it, Daddy, look at me. I don't know how to be anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know how to be anything. I used to know how to be. You're done for. I used to pass. If you do that, I used to pass very well. You're done for. They don't want that. I don't know how to act. So how should I be? You know what I mean? I don't know how to be. I'm an artist. I don't want to be. What should I wear? I don't know how to talk about. What should I say? I don't know how to be anymore. I don't know how to be. You're done for. They don't want that. They don't want that. They want someone who's sure, someone who's positive, someone who knows, not someone who says, what do you think? You know what I mean? If you do this. I have said it. If you do that. I haven't said it right, I know. I haven't said it right. But I've said it. How should I walk? I mean, what should I say? What should I say? How am I supposed to be? I don't know how to be. I don't know how to be. But I've said it. Okay. I've said it. Electra is trying to speak. Electra is trying to speak. I don't be anymore. I can either be your daughter or myself. I don't know how to act anymore. I mean, I used to know how to be. I used to pass. I used to pass very well, but I can't pass anymore. I mean, I don't know how to be. I mean, I used to want to be the muse. Now I want to be the artist. I don't want to be the inspiration. I want to be it. I mean, I want to be it. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know how to act anymore. I mean, if you hesitate for 1 second, you won't get what you need. They don't want that. Oh, no. They want someone who knows, someone who's sure, someone who's positive. If you say, what do you think? You're done for. You are done for. If you do this, you're done for. If you do that, you're done for. They don't want that. I mean, so how should I be? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know how to act. I mean, how should I walk? What should I wear? I don't know how to talk. I mean, what should I say? I don't know how to be anymore. I don't know how to be. Okay, I haven't said it. I have said it. I haven't said it right, I know. I haven't said it right. But I've said it. I haven't said it the way you'd like to hear it, but I've said it. I've said it. Electra is trying to speak. She's holding her breath. She's very, very still. Why she's so still, she's almost not breathing. She gasps. She gasps. She can't speak. She can't breathe. There's probably more she could say. Electra steps out of the door. She has never done this before. She says she has never done this before. We do not know for sure. She steps out of the door. She takes a breath. She tries to take a breath. She breathes. She is breathing. She staggers. She belches. She passes air. She has never done this before. She is breathing. She signals. She takes a step out from the door. She totters. She is still breathing. She signals. She has never done this before.
Doris Chase Concepts is concerned with adding a new visual dimension to words, emotion, and drama.
There was once a man who had black and white cattle. They were no ordinary cattle. He tended them as if they were his children. One day, he went to get milk from his cows in the morning, and he discovered that their udders were empty. So he took them to even greener pastures to graze. But the next morning, once again, they gave no milk. So he took them to fresh green grass to eat. But the third morning, when their udders were withered and dry, and they gave no milk again, he thought he would stay up all night and watch to see what happened. And he did. In the middle of the night, he saw, coming down from the sky, a rope. And down that rope, there descended women from the sky. Beautiful women, each one carrying a calabash beneath her arm. And she took the calabash, and each woman placed it beneath a cow and began to milk. And they milked and milked the cows dry, one after another, until their udders were empty and withered. And their calabashes were filled with this white, frothy milk. And the women began to leave, and they would have run right back up that rope to the sky when he saw one so beautiful that he wanted her. So he chased her until he caught her, and she struggled, and the other women began to run away. And he pulled, and she struggled, and finally he held her and said, "Woman, I'm going to marry you." And then she stopped. She looked at him. She relaxed. And she said, "Mortal, all right. I will marry you. But on one condition. I have a basket so finely woven that the lid fits perfectly on the bottom. You must promise to never open this basket unless I give you permission. For if you do, great harm will befall us." He promised. She took that finely woven basket and placed it by the door. And she married him. She was a good wife. She even tended his black and white cattle. He was happy. But you know, he grew curious about what she kept in the basket. And after some time, his promise grew less heavy on his mind. And he thought, you know, she's my wife. Is it not then my basket? Why shouldn't I look? And she'll never know. She was tending his black and white cattle when he decided one day to open the basket. He took it from the door. And he opened. I don't see anything in the basket. There's nothing in it. Why did she make such a fuss? So he closed it. And he put it back by the door. You know, not long afterwards, she came back. She came into the house and she said, "What did you do today?" I looked in the basket. What did you see in the basket? I don't know why you made such a fuss.
I saw nothing in your basket. It was empty. You saw nothing in the basket. And she lifted it up. She held that finely woven basket, and she said, you saw nothing in the basket, but I kept everything in the basket. All the beautiful things of the sky I kept for you and I. If you had only waited, I would have taught you how to see. Now, I must go. And she left. The woman who came from the sky went back to the sky. She took her basket and vanished. She never came back. You see, it is that way even today. Mankind thinks the things of the Spirit are empty. And woman, she has always been the symbol of the Spirit. Na 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 na, na na na, na 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 na, na na na, na 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 na. Hina was weary. Hina was so old. Hina was tired. All day she had to be tapas to make clothing for her family. Hina's husband, Akanaka, was a thief and a liar. Poor Hina, she had to work so hard. Now tapas is the inside of the bark of a mulberry tree. You strip the bark and steam it and steam it, and lay it on the sand and beat it in the hot sun until it stretches, and then you set 4 stones on the corner until it's dry. Hina was weary. She had to work so hard. One day, Hina was beating tapas beneath the sun. She looked up at the sun, so bright, so far away, and she thought, if I can only go and just lie down, I'd like to be alone for a long, long time. The sun heard Hina, and the sun sent a rainbow bridge to Hina's feet. I used to ride rainbows when I was a young girl. So Hina decided to go to the sun. She put her feet on the rainbow, and Hina began to rise up to the sky. Hina was rising up to the sun, and it warmed her old bones. And Hina was going to the sun. But as Hina got closer to the sun, it burned her eyes and scorched her skin. Hina had to turn around and come all the way back down to the earth. Oh, what an old fool I am, said Hina. When she got back down to the earth, it was night. There was a full moon. Hina would have liked to lie on the sand and let the cool moonlight air heal her skin. But then Hina heard her husband, Aikanaka, running down the beach. Hina! Where have you been? I had to go down to the river with a calabash to draw water. All the men said, Akanaka, don't you have a wife? Hina, look, it's a full moon. You could go down to the ocean and get shrimp baskets so I could eat. Hina was weary. Hina was so tired. But she loved that old man. So she went down to the ocean to get the shrimp baskets. She leaned her old body out on the jagged stones, and Hina pulled in the shrimps. Oh, Hina was weary. Hina looked up at the moon. Oh, so bright, so cool. And she thought, if I could only go and just lie down, I'd like to be alone for a long, long time. The moon heard Hina, and the moon sent a moonbeam bridge to Hina's feet. Oh, I was a fool to go to the sun. But I'm an old woman. What do I have to lose? So Hina decided to go to the moon. But first, she would take the shrimp baskets to her husband, Ikanaka. She lifted and took those shrimp baskets to her husband. She let him cook, for it is taboo for a woman to touch a man's food. And while Ikanaka ate, she waited. But then she heard him go to his room to sleep, and she listened by the door until she could hear the familiar sound of his deep sleep breathing. And then Hina took her calabash. She put in all her earthly possessions. She put in the mallet that her mother had given her. She put in the tapas cloth that she used to make clothing. She put in a red feathered cape that she'd worn the day she was married. And Hina took the calabash and put it on her back. And she went down to the ocean. And the moonbeam bridge was still there. So Hina put her feet on the moonbeams. And she began to walk across the water, clear into the sky. And Hina was going to the moon. But then she heard her husband, Akanaka, running down the beach. Hina! Where are you going with the calabash? You must be going far. Hina! I'm going to the moon to be alone. Oh, Hina, no, you're not. You belong to me. And Akanaka began to run, clear up the moonbeam bridge, right into the sky, until he caught Hina by the feet, and he pulled her. But that old woman, she struggled and freed herself. And Akanaka? Why, that old man went sliding right back down that moonbeam bridge to the earth. Hina was weary. She stood up. Her leg burned. She was lame. But that old woman, she just kept going. She had to keep her eyes right before her feet. And so she walked, moonbeam by moonbeam. And Hina was climbing into the sky. And then Hina stood among the stars. And so she looked to see the pathway to the moon. But it was gone. She looked down to see the road back down to the earth. But it had vanished. What an old fool I am. Then Hina remembered that her mother had taught her to make incantations to the stars. So she called out, she waited. But nothing happened. That old woman was so tired that she just gave in and rested. And she closed her eyes. You know, when that old woman closed her eyes, she just rose straight up through the stars to the moon. If you look at the full moon at night, you'll see an old woman sitting there with a calabash by her leg. That's Hina. But they don't call her Hina. They call her Lono Moko, lame woman of the moon. But she's not lazy. She's still beating tapas. But she's not making clothing for her family. She's making the white, fleecy clouds in the sky. And when she sets the tapas out to dry, she puts 4 stones on the corners. And when it's ready, she takes the stones and throws them against the sky. When they crash against each other, there's thunder. And when they spark against each other, there's lightning. And when they fall through the clouds, there's rain. Ina na na na, ina na na, ina na na na, ina na, ina. Hina, woman in the moon.
In the early 80s, I started working with actors to make dramatic, realistic pieces for television. This series was called By Herself, and instead of being a manipulation of image, it was a script-driven idea.
How is he?
Not good.
Did they stop the cobalt treatment?
Yep.
Oh, I wish I were there.
It's interesting to see how she's evolved in video. It's a strange evolution, but it all makes sense.
Hi, Papa. I called to tell you what I'm doing. There's been some snow. You'd love looking at the rooftops. It's magic. Everything's white.
I felt that older women in theater, as in all walks of life, don't have any image for the public,
So, you see,
particularly in television.
Now that she is an older woman, this is important to her and she notices it a lot, and it's very moving stuff.
Mother, let me spell out to you the reasons.
Have you been tinkering with the car, dear, or is that your aftershave?
The reasons why you should return home to your husband. Firstly, you have not enough money to enable you to live in comfort.
Husband.
You're untrained for any decently paid work.
My husband.
You're too old to get work anyway.
Anybody's husband.
You're too old to attract another man. I'm sorry, Mother, but it has to be said.
My dear John,
That's what I've come to say to you.
I'd forgotten how crass you can be.
All of them really stemmed from my idea of trying to create in a very positive manner what women really have to face.
I was like Jim and his new friend. When you and Michael were small, I once gave to each of you an extra large balloon. And I said you had to blow them up yourselves. I wasn't going to help. And Michael, all excited, shouted, "Watch, Mummy, watch me." And he blew his balloon larger and larger and larger until it burst in his face. But you blew into yours very carefully until it was just a little less than its full extent. And then you tied a piece of string around its neck and you kept it in your room with you until it shriveled up. So, you see, neither of you has that wonderful bright balloon anymore. And, my dear, it isn't my fault. It isn't anybody's fault.
For the past 10 years, I've been working on a series of 6 dramas featuring mature women. It's called By Herself, and each one of the stories is about emotions and experiences that shape a woman's life. I've been showcasing this series at universities and film festivals and museums for some time. It wasn't until I moved in to a retirement center and presented the program with a social worker by my side and a planned question agenda that I realized the importance and the excitement of this work. Table for One with Geraldine Page concerns a woman going to dinner alone. It touches on the issues of the double standards for men and women, the pain when a relationship has ended, and being comfortable with yourself when alone.
Well, I'm going to enjoy this evening. I'm going to come here again. Alone. Soon. I am going to stop feeling like a lost orphan. In fact, I'm a queen. A goddess.
Dear Papa is a mother-daughter drama with Ann Jackson and Roberta Wallach. They share memories of a man who was Gramps to one and Papa to the other. It tells about the message we get from our fathers and differing views we have on the same person.
You know, it's been 40 years, and I can still remember. I can still remember a phone conversation that he had the morning his father died. His voice was so tight. And yet, I never thought that they cared that much for each other. They were always arguing about politics. But he blew his nose really hard. And I had never seen him cry before. It helps, you know, to know that there's a family together and that there is continuum.
The discussion following the films triggered an animated repartee with a totally different dimension than earlier presentations. The audience was able to discuss honestly the characters and their problems, while, in fact, they were speaking about themselves.
Ann Jackson said to her daughter that the time in between life and death, to fill them up with, good things.
Not everybody was fortunate in our generation to have a grandfather or a grandmother. I didn't even have a father.
If your children grow older and they reach toward middle age, it becomes somewhat easier to talk to them about death. And I think then the possibility of preparing them is real.
It freed them to talk about ideas and emotions, about love and loss, and about their personal life. Still Frame is the story of a photographer and a writer and the dilemma that comes to an end during a studio photo session. It points at taking one's work seriously and being in control of one's life.
Let's go downtown tomorrow and get married.
I can't. I can't.
I thought we loved each other.
I do love you. But I love my life alone, too. I know it sounds corny, but it took me so long to realize that I had something to offer. That my work was important. I don't want to get married. I like my life.
I developed a dancer with Louise Reiner, which is a drama of two former lovers meeting after a 30-year separation. It illustrates choices we make and also the fear of change.
You're making me nervous. 30 years is a very long time.
Or is it that you don't want to try?
Thomas, look, you had your work and you were successful. And I had my work and I was successful. And that is what made us special. I know every breath and every ballet, every dip of the hand, every lift of the head. That is all I know.
And be reasonable, please.
Maybe we are more special in our separateness.
But I want to change that.
Thomas, what we have created is what we are.
These programs are about opening up, reaching out, making new friends. The guide is basically designed to allow anyone who can read and who loves people to act as leader.
When your parents are gone, then you're the older generation. It makes a big difference in your life.
Each session needs a leader or facilitator to lead the discussion. This person needs to view the video program so that the companion guide with the list of questions can be of optimum use and can result in an ordered progression. Glass Curtain is a very personal story of the love between mother and daughter and how the daughter tries to cope with her mother's Alzheimer's disease. It brings up issues regarding a parent's illness and tells about expectations, guilt, love, and helplessness.
They say that it isn't as painful for her as it is for me. I see her anxieties as she wraps and rewraps small packets of letters. As she rearranges boxes and clothes and shifts them from drawer to drawer. Trying to remember the day, the year. She tries to piece her life together. She looks into the mirror with empty eyes. Where are the dreams?
The last in the series, Sophie, stars Joan Plowright. It concerns the resentment and hidden frustrations between a mother and son when she leaves home. The drama looks in on relationships with adult children, living a life for others, and eventually being able to say no.
Shall I do the reading for you?
Come home. Try and make a go of it with him, please. For my sake.
Would it really mean so much to you?
You can't find what you want here.
Michael used to say there's nothing we couldn't do, nothing we couldn't be.
I can push a pea up a hill with my nose. I can tell jokes.
Perhaps it's all just an illusion. Perhaps we never really find what we want.
Have you heard the one about the man with the golden screw? It was in his navel. He'd have done anything to get it out. He even prayed. And one day his prayers were answered. He found a golden screwdriver. He fitted it onto the screw, he turned it 3 times, and the screw was out. It was out. He couldn't believe it. He jumped for joy. And his legs dropped off.
He just couldn't stand on his own feet. Come home. Do it for me. I wouldn't be much of a son if I left you here now, would I? Just for a little while.
Mummy, please help me.
Mother,
I can't cope.
Come home.
Please help.
Do it for me.
Please.
Just for a little while.
I need you.
You've got problems at work.
Mummy, please, Mummy. Please, Mummy. 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 Mummy.
No, 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 no. I can't. I mustn't. There are things I can do.
The series is currently being used with women's groups on issues in aging, at universities and colleges, retirement centers, film groups, and libraries. The tapes serve as a catalyst for group discussions and as a vehicle for nurturing ongoing intergenerational dialogue in a variety of group settings. By Herself provides role models of intelligent older women while suggesting the possibilities and excitement associated with independence in later life.
Cheers. Never mind the goddess. To me.